the renewed hostilities between the US and Iran over control of the Strait of Hormuz, the heightened tensions have seen oil futures spiking by over 9%, prompting concern about the prospect of higher petrol prices here in Australia. Now, some fuel retailers in southeast Queensland have been accused of attempting to re-establish the unleaded fuel price cycle after price hikes of up to 30 cents per litre in the last week. Now, Dr. Ian Jeffries is an oil market analyst and the RACQ's economic and affordability specialist, and he joins us now from Brisbane. Dr. Jeffries, welcome. Thank you for your time. Firstly, to this flare-up we're seeing in the Middle East, are we staring here in Australia down the barrel of another fuel price shock?
Look, certainly so far we've seen oil prices about $10 higher than they were 2 or 3 weeks back. So at the moment, we're not expecting a price shock like we saw back in early March, late February. Our local prices are buffered somewhat with Singapore prices. So our wholesale prices track the Asia Pacific benchmark price in Singapore. That's remained elevated through much of the conflict. So some of that increase in oil will be absorbed in those Singapore prices and won't necessarily flow on through to prices in Australia.
Now, the RACQ has released its latest fuel report. You've also accused some retailers of attempting to re-establish the fuel price cycle. Before we go into that, can you just quickly explain to us what that cycle is?
So the cycle is purely within the retail market. So in Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne, we typically see cycles last about 6 to 8 weeks long. At the start of the cycle, retailers jump their price up about 50 to 60 cents per litre. It will take a couple of weeks for that to flow through the whole market, and then they would slowly decrease their price over the next 4 to 5 weeks until we got back down somewhere close to the wholesale price.
And so when we first were feeling the fuel shock here in Australia, did that cycle kind of cease for a period of time?
Yes, so for a while we went to a flat cycle. So the last time we saw a consistent fuel price cycle was back in February. We saw the price shock in early March, and since then our average retail price has tracked along with the average wholesale price. When we look at margins, the absolute difference between the average retail and the average wholesale price, they're down to about 10.5 cents per litre. Back when we had a cycle, typically there would be anywhere between 20 and 25 cents per litre on average.
And so what are you seeing in terms of gouging activity, and what could stop this?
Look, I don't know if we could really call it gouging. What we have seen is about 10% of sites in the Greater Brisbane market have pushed their price up by about 30 cents. Most sites are sitting below at or about $1.70 per litre. In the last week or so, we've seen those sites jump up to close to $2 per litre.
As to Australia's fuel reserves, they have increased. Is that going to, cushion any potential blows that we'll see here?
Look, certainly the actions taken by our state and federal governments have increased the amount of fuel that we have on shore. So they've certainly shored up that supply. Look, the supply doesn't have too much of a relation with price. So our prices are pegged to Singapore prices. Look, I think the measures that have been taken have ensured that we will still have fuel available, but we're still exposed to Singapore prices. And when the Singapore prices increase, when the oil prices increase, those prices do flow through to Australia.
And finally, the federal government's fuel excise discount, which is currently 16 cents a litre, that'll expire on the 2nd of August. So it's soon. And that, of course, means that motorists will feel that jump in the price again. If that is coming at a time of increasing prices this time, that's going to cause a bit of pain and also, one would guess, a bit of anger as well.
Certainly the timing is very unfortunate. Look, at the moment, from what we're hearing is the full rate of excise will be reintroduced in 3 weeks' time. Look, if that will push up prices. The last increase pushed up prices, wholesale prices by 16 cents. took about a week to 10 days for that to flow through to retail prices. We would expect the same will happen when the full rate of excise, if the full rate of excise is reintroduced.